James Joseph Whitey Bulger was born on September 3, 1929, in the South Boston neighborhood of Boston, Massachusetts. He grew up in a rough-and-tumble environment, and from an early age, he was involved in criminal activities. His nickname, Whitey, came from his light blonde hair, a name he reportedly despised. Bulger's first run-ins with the law were as a juvenile, and he quickly moved up from petty crimes to more serious offenses. After serving time in a juvenile reformatory, he enlisted in the U.S. Air Force but continued his criminal behavior, earning a few months in military prison for his transgressions. After his discharge, Bulger returned to Boston and became deeply involved in the local underworld. By the 1970s, Bulger had established himself as a key figure in Boston's organized crime scene. He became the leader of the Winter Hill Gang, a predominantly Irish-American crime syndicate that controlled much of the illegal activity in South Boston and beyond. The gang was involved in extortion, loan sharking, drug trafficking, arms smuggling, and a series of violent crimes, including murder. One of the most astonishing aspects of Bulger's criminal career was his relationship with the Federal Bureau of Investigation, FBI. In the mid-1970s, Bulger became an informant for the FBI, feeding them information about his rivals in the Italian mafia, specifically the Patriarca crime family. His handler, FBI agent John Connolly, was a South Boston native and had grown up idolizing Bulger, which played a significant role in their relationship. Bulger's status as an informant allowed him to operate with near impunity. The FBI protected him from prosecution and even tipped him off about investigations and potential threats from rival gangs. This corrupt relationship between Bulger and the FBI led to numerous crimes going unpunished and allowed Bulger to eliminate his enemies, either through murder or by having them arrested based on the information he provided. Connolly and other corrupt agents in the FBI effectively became Bulger's protectors, shielding him from the law and enabling his criminal empire to thrive. This dark chapter in the FBI's history eventually led to significant scandals and reforms within the agency. By the early 1990s, Bulger's luck began to run out. The Massachusetts State Police and the Drug Enforcement Administration, DEA, had started to close in on him. In 1994, Bulger was tipped off by Connolly that a federal indictment was imminent, and he went on the run. He managed to evade capture for the next 16 years, making him one of the FBI's 10 most wanted fugitives. During his time as a fugitive, Bulger and his longtime girlfriend, Catherine Gregg, traveled across the United States and eventually settled in Santa Monica, California. They lived under the aliases Charles and Carol Gasco in a modest apartment near the beach. Bulger kept a low profile, avoiding drawing attention to himself despite being one of the most wanted men in the country. Bulger's time on the run came to an end on June 22, 2011, when the FBI arrested him and Gregg at their Santa Monica apartment. His capture was the result of a renewed publicity campaign by the FBI, which included airing TV ads focused on finding Gregg, a strategy that ultimately led to their discovery. Following his capture, Bulger was returned to Boston to face trial. His trial began in June 2013, and it was one of the most highly publicized legal proceedings in the city's history. Over the course of the trial, the jury heard from a parade of witnesses, including former associates, victims' families, and others connected to Bulger's reign of terror. Bulger was charged with 32 counts, including involvement in 19 murders. He was found guilty of 11 of those murders, as well as numerous other crimes, including extortion, money laundering, and racketeering. On November 14, 2013, Bulger was sentenced to 2 life terms plus 5 years in federal prison. The judge called his crimes unfathomable and stated that Bulger deserved to spend the rest of his life behind bars. Initially, Bulger was incarcerated at the United States Penitentiary Coleman II in Florida. Due to his age and health issues, he was moved to several different facilities over the years. However, his final transfer would prove fatal. On October 29, 2018, Bulger was transferred to USP Hazleton, a high-security federal prison in Brewston Mills, West Virginia. Hazleton had a reputation for violence and was known as one of the most dangerous federal prisons in the country. Within hours of his arrival, Bulger was brutally murdered by fellow inmates. The attack was particularly savage. Reports indicated that Bulger was beaten with a padlock stuffed inside a sock, and his eyes were gouged out. He was found wrapped in a blanket, unrecognizable due to the extent of his injuries. The motives behind Bulger's murder remain speculative, though it's widely believed that his past as an informant played a significant role. There was also speculation that his involvement in organized crime and the many enemies he had made over the years may have contributed to his violent end. The murder raised questions about how such a high-profile inmate was placed in a general population unit in a prison known for its violence, and why he wasn't given more protection. Whitey Bulger's death marked the end of an era for Boston's underworld and brought a final, brutal conclusion to a life steeped in violence, crime, and corruption. His story remains a powerful example of how deeply criminal influence can permeate even the highest levels of law enforcement, and it serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of unchecked power and corruption. The fallout from Bulger's relationship with the FBI led to widespread scrutiny and reforms aimed at preventing such corruption from happening again. The scandal surrounding his case tarnished the reputation of the FBI's Boston office and led to criminal charges against several agents, including John Connolly, who was eventually convicted of racketeering and second-degree murder. Bulger's life has been the subject of numerous books, documentaries, and movies, most notably the 2015 film Black Mass, in which Johnny Depp portrayed Bulger. His story continues to captivate the public's imagination, not just because of his brutal crimes, but also because of the complex, almost surreal relationship he had with the FBI, and the way his life ultimately came to a violent and gruesome end.